Well, tēnā koutou katoa, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome, welcome. Hello, come on into the room. Nice to see you. Come on in. Haere mai, haere mai. Hello to you. I would love, as you're joining the call today, let me know where you're zooming in from today. I always love to hear a little bit about your story. Hopefully we'll have time to unmute the mics today later on in the chat as well. Let me know where you're zooming in from. I know there's a few of you coming in today, and I know there's quite a few of you in the back end who don't have your cameras on. We're going to talk about that today, but most importantly, I wanted to say good morning, kia ora. I want to know in the comments feed, because I can see your comments, even if your camera's not on right now, I want to know in the comments feed, number one, where are you from? And number two, on a scale from 1 to fabulous, where are you checking in today? Where is your energy at? How are you showing up? Who are you bringing into the Zoom room today? So let me know in the comments feed. Are you a 1? Are you a 10? Are you 1,000? Or are you all the way to fabulous? I want to know, because I'm here to help you today. And if you're feeling less than fabulous, it's my goal that by the end of today's chat, you will be feeling ready to take on the world and share your stories with wild abandon, because stories matter. So let me see. Oh, I can see a comment there. I can see a comment. Oh, from Terere, is it? Terere in Rawinia. Kia ora to you. Hello to you. Tamaki. Oh, absolutely. Tamaki Makota. Beautiful, beautiful. And I know, Jeff, you're coming in from. Hello to you, Tina. Jeff, you're coming in from Christchurch today. Tina, where are you coming in from? Oh, that's right. Jeff, you're from Rangiora, in fact. Beautiful. 8 out of 10 for your energy. That's wonderful. Tina, where are you zooming in from today? And you're typing. Okay, all right. I'll give you some space. Type. So let me know. You're coming in from Spain, Jezebel. How wonderful. So, all right, you're almost ready for a sleep. I hope I don't rack you up too much that you can't sleep. In fact, you know what? I hope I do rack you up so much that you get so excited you have to write down a million ideas. That's what happens to me when I turn up to webinars. I feel so inspired. But nothing changes in life unless we actually start taking action. And even if it's simple as writing down a little bit of an action plan, which we'll talk a little bit into today, maybe what you'll want as your goals or your outcomes as a speaker, as a communicator, or as a leader, whatever your goals or outcomes are today, I hope you get really excited about it all. Tina, I can see your smiling face, you beautiful thing. Tina, you're from Tauranga. What a beautiful part of Aotearoa. It's so good to have you here. Now, what I'm really delighted about is there's a couple of usual suspects on the call today. So my friend Jeff, we've got lovely Lakesh zooming in today as well. So it's great to see some beautiful familiar faces. So kia ora to you. But also I want to say a big welcome to all of our guests from across the motu here in New Zealand, across the world as well. It's a real pleasure and an honour to have you on this call today. Now, for those of you who I haven't met in real life yet, hello to you. I wanted to share a little bit about who I am, what I do, and my mission, I guess, for the world. So a few years ago, I was hosting a networking event. And I remember being at this networking event and I'd get up and MC. And look, I've been doing work as a speaker and an MC for more than 25 years. And I've always been really comfortable as a performer because that's what I'm trained to do. But I remember in my 30s and my 40s, while I was comfortable and confident as a performer, I didn't really have any confidence being Monique. And that's been a journey. I think it's a journey that we work on every single day. Am I right? If you agree with me, by the way, I want to see the communication from you. I'm not here just to talk at you today. Let me know. If that resonates, if anything resonates, give me a thumbs up, give me a heart. Let's make it totally interactive. So I spent years and years never feeling that confident in who I was and my values, my mission, my purpose, my passion. And what I've learned is all of those things are the things that drive us, that get us up out of bed in the morning. They're the things that accelerate us towards success. And so I went through this amazing life change where I started to examine all the narratives that were going on in my head, and I started to research into how beliefs show up, and I learned that a belief is simply a story we continue to tell ourselves over and over again. And I thought to myself, well, you know what? If I've got this incredible biography, this whakapapa that's led up to this present moment of who I am, wow, who could I possibly become? What's the new story moving forward? And I learned very quickly that our biography, the stories that we come into in this world and how we show up till this present moment don't have to be our final chapter. And that's where I really pivoted from working in a digital agency to actually becoming a global keynote speaker. So I made this mindset shift about the fact that stories are important. And I remember hosting this networking event, coming back to my opening point there. I remember hosting this networking event, and this man man came up to me, a very tall man. He was big, but he also had a big presence, a big energy. And I knew who he was. And he had a really big job as well. He's a hedge funds manager. Now, little Monique from a few years ago, who didn't have a huge amount of confidence, she had struggled with what we call authority bias. And she would look at that person, she wouldn't even make eye contact because, I'm not worthy of talking to somebody so intelligent. And this man came up to me and he said to me, Monique, I've been watching you all evening. And I thought, okay, all right. And he said to me, I've been watching you. I've been watching, technology might go wrong. You didn't even bat an eyelid. He said, you walk around the room and you acknowledge every single person. You look them in the eye. You make eye contact with them. And most importantly, you acknowledge them. You see them. You make them feel better. And he said, how are you so confident? And I looked him in the eyes and I said, because I know who I am. I know how I serve. And I have absolute unwavering faith in my abilities and my gifts and my talents. I'm here to set the tone as a leader, and I'm here to support everyone because a rising tide lifts all boats. And he looked at me and he said, wow. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, who have I become? And that's really started me on this journey of not just helping people become better speakers and communicators, but understand the core of confidence. Because when we understand who we are, when we understand how we serve, when we understand our gifts, our talents, our passion, our purpose, our mission, that's when we are here to do more and be more, not just for ourselves, but for everyone else. And so that's really what moved me into this space of wanting to not just help people become better speakers, but to help people become better in who they are. Because like I said, having spent so many years being a confident speaker, but missing that one vital piece, which is the energy we bring into the room, which is how we show up authentically, that has become the key to my success as a speaker. So if we're not connected, thank you, Tina. Love your comments there. Now, if we're not connected on social media, firstly, after this, let's connect through LinkedIn. I'd love to learn more about you and your stories. And I wanted to give you a little bit of context around my professional expertise, because I'm not just somebody who ended up winning a cup at school for the best speaker of the day. I officially, in my keynotes, I always share called Monique Bradley tōku ingoa, he kai kōrero aho, which for those of you who don't speak te reo Māori, that means I'm a storyteller. And often I get people going, you're a storyteller? And I get them doing that face. What does that actually mean? Some people think I sit around a campfire holding hands with people singing Kumbaya. No, I do not do that. I have done that over the years. Some people think I sit on the mat with the children and read stories. I actually used to be an educational children's entertainer, and so I have done that. But most importantly, in Te Ao Pākihi, which is the business world, I specialise in helping people with the stories that we share in our media, our marketing and our sales. I look at the stories that we as leaders share to activate culture change within an organisation. So using storytelling practice to bring people together. But most importantly, the bit that kind of is the heart, or the rito of the harakeke, the heart of the flax bush, what fuels us are the stories that we tell ourselves. And I believe that our stories can either hold us back or accelerate us towards extraordinary success. What do you guys think of that? Do you agree? Do you agree? Maybe you don't. Maybe you do. If you do, give me a heart, give me a thumbs up. Our stories are our whakapapa, they are our legacy. And that's the journey we're going on to today. And over that, I'll be talking into three key pillars around confidence, clarity, and impact. Just give you a little taster of the journey that we're on today. To do that professionally, I've been training for a very, very long time. So I'll show you here. I actually have a Bachelor of Arts in Theatre and Film. That was my one true love until I dived in and had a midlife crisis and did a Master of Creative Practice. I'm actually the first person in the world to do a Master's focusing on keynote speaking and creating what we call dynamic co-presence, so how we connect with our audience. In BNI, which if you haven't heard of BNI before, it's Business Networking International, Business Network International. I'm actually the national trainer for BNI very, very proudly, so I get to share concepts and ideas to empower our people to do more, be more, connect, and do business better. I'm also previously a board member of the Professional Speakers Association of New Zealand. I worked as a TV shopping presenter, as well as a magician, as well as a teacher, as well as working in sales. But TV shopping was an absolute joy, and I still love promoting products these days. And you can see that big number there. That big number represents how many people have seen me or my brand, or I've spoken to over the last few years, 200 million. And I've done that through live streams. I've done that through content creation and working with partner brands. So as an example, post my TV shopping time, I actually ended up working with extraordinary brands like Dilmah Tea. We reached 1 million people with one live stream, which was extraordinary for their brand. I've worked with DeLonghi and Kenwood and amazing New Zealand brands and a bunch of amazing charities like Kidney Kids New Zealand, Diabetes New Zealand, Retina New Zealand, the Heart Foundation, and everything at the core of that work that I've done over the years has all been about storytelling. And it's all about how do we show up? How do we activate those people in front of us? How do we get them excited? How do we activate change? And to do that, it's really important that we understand how we show up with confidence, that our messaging is really clear, and that we leave people with some sort of impact or change. And that is really the core of today's kaupapa. A little bit of quick housekeeping for you. Yes, I am recording this session today. So at the very end, I will open up the microphones for a bit of a Q&A. So you don't have to show your face on the chat today. You're absolutely safe and amazing. So do feel free to share all of your comments during the chat and the chat feed, because I can see all your comments. I do ask, if you can and you're comfortable, please leave your cameras on, purely because what I'm doing as a facilitator is I'm actually looking at your non-verbal communication. So 70% of how we communicate is actually in the visuals. So I want to make sure that any shifts that we might go through, or any ideas or concepts that we share, that they're actually embedding, that you're taking away that knowledge and that you get it. So if you can, please leave your camera on. I ask that you don't record the session at your end. You will be able to get access to a replay. So if any key points stood out for you today and you want to come back to it, you'll get access to it again. And I much prefer that you scroll through it, and we're going to keep it all in one place. Do keep your mics on mute until I ask you to unmute them. And as I said, keep your share. Oh, hello. I just heard my microphone pop then. Share your comments and any questions in the comments feed, because it is my goal that by the end of the session, and depending on timings, at the very end, any comments that come up during that chat that I haven't addressed, because I love solving problems, I will do that at the very end, I absolutely promise. All right, so you've heard a little bit about me. You can see some people call me the confidence queen. Yes, I do wake up like this pretty much every single day, because I am so grateful to do a job that I love, and that I get to activate and shine a light on others and hopefully activate the light within them as well. It's absolutely what drives me. But I want to talk about you and learn more about you. I want to know what gets you out of bed in the morning. What's your purpose? What do you do in this world? How do you make your contribution? I want you to share your comments in the comments feed. Let's talk about you. It's all about you today. I'm just here, hopefully, to guide the waka, to drive it all in the right direction. So let me know, what do you do? How do you want to make change? What is your purpose? How do you want to transform the lives of other people through the stories that you share, how you show up as a leader through the content that you share? I'd love to know what your contribution is going to be in this world. And there's a reason why I do this, and I'm going to explain this to you slightly later on in the presentation as well. I can see you all with your thinking faces on. This is a beautiful thing. It's wonderful. Thinking, oh yes, what is my purpose? Purpose is that one thing that gets us out of bed every day, and it's what pushes us to serve. You want to help people work in safer workplaces. Jeff, you are just an absolute diamond. I love your heart. I love that. What else have we got? I can see Lakesh has just written, yes, Lakesh, I agree. Love the energy. Anything else? So only Jeff wants something out of today. No, I'm sorry. I'm pressuring you to write as fast as you can. Bullet points are absolutely fine. I can try and piece it all together myself anyway. When I do presentations like this, I get such a mix. Usually, the people that are attracted to these webinars are the ones who want to activate change in others. They want to be those change agents, those transformational people. They want to be, perhaps some of them want to be speakers. Some of them, when they come onto these chats, they just actually genuinely want to be more confident, or they don't know what to say. They don't know how to say it. They don't want to look like a dick. That's one of the comments I've had many a time in these presentations. Look, the reality is, on my watch, you will never look like a dick. I absolutely promise that. Have we got any other comments there, Pete? By the way, I've got lovely Pete in the background. He is my producer here. I just really want to acknowledge him. Whakapapa Māori, aroha mai, aroha atu. Yeehaw! Beautiful. I would love to do a one-to-one with you at some stage and talk to you more about what you're doing in the world. My master's thesis was actually looking at Te Ao Māori principles as a way to support our audiences and create greater connection. And the most important principle, I guess, that I learnt was wairuatanga. So the spirit that comes through us as we connect with people and how we deliver our message. So I love that. Tina. Okay, I like to shine the light to the world. Miracles are everywhere. I agree, to be a special speaker to the world. I love that. Now, some people I know are very clear. They want to stand on that red dot. They want to become a TEDx speaker. Some people want to be able to feel confident going on camera. There's lots of different reasons for why we join these webinars or why people join these webinars. So it is my hope that by the end of today, you will walk away with some tips, some tricks. We're doing a little bit of applied learning, a little bit of theory, a little bit of storytelling. So you will actually walk away with a little bit of an action plan and an opportunity if you want to do more. Let's talk about that today. So as I mentioned, my kaupapa for today, my topic is to speak with confidence, speak with clarity, and to speak with impact. And for me to problem solve creatively with you today, I want to know, why is this important for you? Now, we already started talking into your why, but why is turning up to this webinar in particular important for you? Is it that your confidence, you're struggling with your confidence? Is it, like I said, you're not sure about how to speak clearly, what to say? Or is it perhaps that you want to make more impact so you're comfortable as a speaker? But how do we stop those moments where people glaze over? Or how do we stop people from yawning or disengaging with a presentation? I'd love to know why this topic has resonated and how I can serve you today. How's that? I'm here to give to you. I can't help myself. Okay, I think we've got a comment in there. Beautiful. Oh, no, now I can see Tina's comment. And I know I'm making you work so hard already this morning. But, we need to get clear. This is part of the journey, right? Thank you, Tina. I can see your face going, she's making me work so hard. Awesome. And if it's just because somebody voluntold you, so they said, you need to turn up to Monique's webinar, that's okay too. That's okay. So whatever your reason is, because I'm so aware that we've got to keep moving. We've got to keep moving. But I think Tina's almost there with her comment. And I can see Jeff's typing away frantically. We're almost there. Okay. To spread my beautiful story. Beautiful. So my question back to you, and this is a rhetorical question that I want you to marinate on during the presentation. What's stopping you from spreading your beautiful story? What's getting in the way of doing it? And if you're already going, actually, I'm doing it, well, we're just going to have some fun today. But if you know that deep within you, there's something stopping you from actually sharing your content or sharing your message or sharing your story with the world, that's what we want to dive into today, because I'm all about taking action and transformation. Jeff, looking for clues to convert my health and safety information into better ways of presenting. As we say on TV shopping, have I got a deal for you? That's part of absolutely what we're talking into today. So this content is excellent for speakers. It's great for content creators. It's great for educators. So whatever you need it for, it's here. And I love that, Awhi, for our team. Absolutely. Support for your team, education, stories. Māori, I mean, I'm assuming that you are Māori as well. So, the more we know that stories are a huge part of our culture. Today, I'm going to teach you about 4 types of stories that actually activate and build connection. And they are great to use in your sales process. I talk about them in one of my books called Shameless promotion, she sells. This is a pre-release copy. You can see it says not for public sale there. In this book, I start to talk about how we show up in sales. Particularly, this book is for largely I wrote for women, how we sell and how we do that authentically. So really, really important to understand the types of stories that we can share to really activate our outcomes or produce better outcomes in our sales process and support process as well. Now, is there anything else to have a leader to show me the right direction? I'm your gal. Let's do this. All right, let's get on with it. Okay, so we've talked into what might be holding you back. What do you think is your biggest challenge? So we've got a bit of a focus, but what is that one thing? I told you we were going to go deep today. I'm one of those people, I don't really like doing small talk. I like to go deep. I like to go really deep. So what do you think is that challenge? Because if we can isolate what that elephant is in the room, then we know how to eat that elephant, which is one bite at a time. So let's bring it out there. What is your biggest challenge? So you want to do all these things. You want to help all these people. And again, I ask you like I did before, what's stopping you? So we've gone from rhetorical to actually, let's name it. Let's name it, claim it, and get it out of the way. My biggest challenge is that I swear too much. Rachel, I love you. I love you. The one thing that I know to be true is that as a speaker, look, I come from a broadcasting family. I've had siblings who worked in radio and TV, and there is a culture within my family. We've got a lot of swearers, but I can tell you hand on heart that not a single one of them has ever sworn on air. And that's because the experience of the person on the other end matters. On the flip side, if swearing is part of your branding guidelines, you do you, babe. Nobody's judging you. We're here to support you. But again, Rachel, let's have a conversation about that and let's see how you want to show up in the world and if you want to be known that way or not. And we can make some provisions around that. You want to be more confident, Tina? Tina, you've got so much beautiful energy. I'm sure you already are confident, I bet. Jeff, time. Yep, time. I want to maximize on your time today. That's a great one. Crafting a boring message into interesting and engaging message. Love it, Jeff. Again, I'm your gal. Right, got it. Here's how I can help. There are 3 reasons characteristically why people come to work with me or come to my webinars or come to my presentations or my workshops. 3 things. 1, they are struggling with their nerves. 2, they don't know what to say. And number 3, they don't know how to say it. Now, would it be fair that from your comments alone, that we're starting to get a sense of, I can see how all of the points, all the things holding us back fit into those categories. Thumbs up for that? Yep. I'm so with you. I'm so with you. Now, what I wanted to share with you was a little bit of my philosophy around how I overcame my own confidence issues around speaking. Even though, like I said, I was a confident performer, I learned very quickly that confidence actually comes from these 3 pillars. So, of course, self-belief is a huge part of the transformation that happened to me. So really understanding, what is my mission? What is my purpose? Write these down. What is your mission? What is your purpose? What is your passion? What are your values? What is your vision? And right at the very bottom of that list, I want you to answer, this is your homework. How am I here to serve? The reason why I say that is I get a lot of people coming into my studio space here in Auckland, and they come in and they want to go on camera. And there's a very real thing that happens when people go on camera for the first time. So that red light goes on the camera and you see them freeze. And you may have done that too. And it's a very, very real thing. And what I actually see in people is all of these filters come over, all these filters of self-doubt, of judgment coming through. And it's a very real phenomenon. It's called red light fever. So it's your body goes into fight or flight. And we're going to talk into anxiety and nerves a little bit today as well. So it stops people from actually allowing themselves to feel free. But when we focus not on the fact that I have to speak to camera, we start thinking about all of those things that get us out of bed, our purpose, our why, and we start to realign our mindset with, it's not about me, it's about the people I serve. That is the paradigm shift that activates not just your confidence, but that deeper level of self-belief, and it gives you drive. That's the thing that actually gets you out of bed in the morning. It's not about how can I make more money. I've spoken for and with people who are making millions and millions of dollars. Does that matter? No, the ones who are deeply successful are driven to serve. They think about the people and the exchange and how they can make their lives better. So when we start focusing on that outcome, so we take that spotlight away from focusing on us and our fears and we shine that spotlight on others, that's when the self-belief piece starts to lock in. Now, the other thing that I teach is that confidence itself, and you can have a look at the image again so that you can see how it all works together. Confidence is actually built through competence, and competence is built through repetition. So the more that we practice our non-verbal communication skills, so that's our posture, it's the way that we stand, it's our body language, it's our eye contact, it's our gestures. The more that we focus on developing that, as you can see, it's all linked together, that will positively impact our self-belief and our confidence. If on the flip side, we want to work first of all on what we say and how to say it, so the delivery of our verbal communication, the more that we do it, the more that we repeat it, that builds your competence, that builds your confidence. So it's all a beautiful, beautiful mishmash of complementary skills. And you can start in this journey on any one of those things. And it will, 100% guaranteed, hand on heart, develop your confidence as a speaker. Are you with me? Am I getting a thumbs up with that? Awesome, awesome, awesome. So your goal is to either look at the stories holding you back or to work on the non-verbal stuff. So even the way that you stand impacts how you're perceived as a leader or a speaker, things like that. And equally, the way that you stand impacts how you think about yourself because your neurology and your physiology are connected. So if you're not feeling that confident, a simple change in your posture will tell your brain that you are confident. So crazy, but it works 100% of the time. So you can focus on the self-belief piece, you can focus on the non-verbal communication skills, or you could work on what you say and how to say it. And any one of those things will work together to build your confidence. So that's a trick. And again, do the same thing with your team. If you're leading a team, teach them these skills as well. Challenge them to think about their posture when they're getting up to present in front of their team. Be that person who doesn't just do it and leads by example, but activate that light in others, and you will literally change the culture of a team and even change the world. It's a ripple effect. So where does this all come from? Where do these nerves and this confidence issue come from? It comes from here. We all know fear of public speaking, glossophobia. It's the number one fear in the world. And in fact, I watch a comedy section from a segment from Jerry Seinfeld, who said what this tells us is that more people are afraid of public speaking than they are of spiders and heights and even death. And what that tells us is that more people would rather be in the casket at a funeral than they would be getting up and delivering the eulogy, which is crazy, right? And yet there is a very real anxiety associated with the vulnerability of public speaking or sharing your story or getting yourself out there. And it all comes to us, jumped forward, because of this beautiful thing that I love. It's our beautiful brains. So these are these storytelling libraries that hold all these beautiful stories that make up what we believe about ourselves. They help index the world. They help, most importantly, to keep us safe. So our brains are hardwired for survival. The thing is, when you're putting yourself out there, whether it's on camera or whether you're getting up to speak publicly or you're in a leadership role and you have to lead other people, every time we get up to speak and we have that, here we go, it's actually your brain reminding you, hey, this is risky. We need to be careful. You're about to expose yourself or be vulnerable. And that brain, which is actually a primal brain, the primal part of the brain, which when we were cavemen, it developed this ability to understand what risk was. So back in the day, it would go, oh, that is a saber-toothed tiger. That is dangerous. Now, every time I potentially am in danger, I will provide an alert. And of course, that produces adrenaline and all sorts of challenging chemicals, which we don't like in the brain, but they're great when you need them. But that activates that anxiety or stress response. So you might feel a bunch of different symptoms, whether it's you get a dry mouth, whether you get butterflies in your tummy, some people shake. One gentleman that I coached a few years ago, every time he would get up to speak, he would cry. And so I had to work with him to understand, cool, what does that process of anxiety look like in you? What's the driver? Now let's see if we can reverse engineer that or realign so that you don't have those feelings. And in fact, one of the most important things that I've taught people over the years is that we have the same feeling when we're feeling nervous as we do when we're feeling excited. It manifests in the body exactly in the same way. It's actually how we frame it. So we can actually hack into our brain's focus to ensure that when we have these feelings, rather than going, oh my goodness, I'm so nervous, going, wow, I'm actually really excited. I'm excited because this moment matters. How I'm about to change somebody's life matters. I'm so excited. And I swear it gives you this extra edge of energy. And rather than having those anxiety feelings, you're there, you're much more in the present moment. You're much more focused on outcomes for your people. So reframing is everything when it comes to overriding any fears or anxieties. But I didn't want to just give you a concept. First of all, I want to ask you, is that helpful? Does that land? Reframing away from I'm nervous to I'm excited. Is that a helpful tip for you? If so, give me a thumbs up. Thumbs up, yes, yes, excellent, good, excellent, so simple. Please share that tip with everybody you know. If you see somebody who is feeling a bit nervous or a bit anxious, remind them, hey, maybe you're feeling this because you're excited. Oh, and watch them shift, it's beautiful. But I wanted to give you applied learning tips as well today. So here are 5 things that I teach people if they are feeling stressed or anxious before they go in to speak. Breathing is really important. We don't have a voice if we're not breathing. So breath is what fuels the voice. It's actually the heart of the production of the voice. So the air from our breathing goes up through our windpipe into our voice box, and it produces a beautiful open vowel sound, which is shaped into words by the movable organs of articulation. I know it sounds super geeky, but it's kind of important to know. Now, the natural response when we get a bit nervous is we start to upper chest breathe, like if we wanted to run away, as an example. So if you can experience in your body upper chest breathing, so you focus your breathing, upper chest. And how does it feel? Try it with me. You probably notice some tension. Right? And look, it's designed to lift us so we can run. And that's the way that our body will actually start to breathe in a stress response space. Now, the reality is for speaking, we don't want to do that because we don't want to create all this tension, especially so close to our voice. Because long term, if you start to create tension up there, it creates tension on the vocal cords, and that starts to make you speak like this, and then it's really hard to understand you, and it's really hard to listen, and you will turn your audience off. So we don't want to do that. So the right breathing for speaking is actually what we call the intercostal diaphragmatic breathing. It's actually the breathing we do when we're relaxed and we're about to go to sleep. It's the same thing that we do when we are meditating or doing yoga. So to give you an example, take your hands, take your beautiful ringa, put them in front of your belly button. Now, that's your focus point. So as we did with the upper chest breathing, now I want you to focus your breathing around that belly button area. So it's nice and low and slow. Now, as we breathe like that, and I've taught people, just imagine you're breathing through your belly button and it redirects the focus of their breathing. Beautiful, nice. It just makes me feel delicious. What it actually does is it starts to calm down your nervous system as well. So it starts to calm that adrenal response. So when I'm working with a nervous or anxious speaker, breathing is always the first thing we do. Now, I'm all about tips and tricks and hacks. If you want to activate that really fast, so you know you're stressed, you're in a meeting, or you're about to go into a high conflict or an escalated conversation, here's what you do. Take your ringa, your hand, your thumb and your ring finger. If you connect those together, you'll start to become aware that you are upper chest breathing. Like your body will just do this. This is a kinesiology technique, right? So shake your hand out. Now I want you to connect your thumb and that was your pointer finger, your thumb and your ring finger. When you do that, it activates your body to engage intercostal diaphragmatic breathing. Can you do that? So try it again as a contrast. Try ring finger, thumb. Yep. And then try it again. Pointer finger and thumb. It's been a long day already. Pointer finger and thumb, which is upper chest. And then we go ring finger and thumb. Now, some people I've met are a little odd, and I mean that with love. And so they're actually wired in the opposite. So find what works for you. But what you should experience is a change in your breathing. And you want to find that trigger finger, which actually activates that diaphragmatic breathing. And that is a go-to before I go on stage. People will see me going like this. I'll stand there talking to them if I do, or not talking. And I will literally be holding that. And it really helped me. I struggled with panic attacks for about 15 years. And when I learnt that technique, it was an absolute game changer. So there you go, a gift from me to you. The next thing I do, which I teach all of my clients and everybody, if they're speaking on stage for the first time or they're doing a 1-minute presentation in their networking group, tap your toes. Now, to give you some context, and if you're doing it now, fabulous. It actually engages the brain into the present moment. It's grounding. It gets rid of any excess energy that might be in your nervous system. But equally, you know when you have a toddler and they fall over and they cry, it's your natural instinct to pick up that toddler, and I've done this a million times, pop them on your hip, and then you start to bounce them, and then you go, oh, look at that beautiful butterfly. Have you done that? If so, give me a thumb, give me a heart, and acknowledge, yes, you've done that. What we're actually doing in that moment is we are misdirecting the focus away from the physical pain into something beautiful. The reason why this works as a technique is that the brain can only process a certain amount of data at any given time. So rather than focusing on the fear or the nerves or the anxiety, when we tap our toes inside our shoes, especially before we go to speak, brings you back to the present moment. And you focus less on your nerves. You focus less on the fact that you might have that voice going, oh, don't screw up. Remember that time you were 8 years old and you spoke in front of those people and you said something wrong and they laughed at you. You won't focus on that. You'll focus on the feeling of your toes. This is an embodiment practice as well. So the next thing that works extremely well and is not used enough sometimes is smile. If you know that you are a little bit nervous, smile. It changes how you're perceived. It changes the tone of your voice because it focuses your voice tonally into a muscle band behind the nose called the imposto. I'm bringing out all the big terms today. So it provides clarity as well when you smile. When I trained as an opera singer 200 years ago, I was taught what's called the panther face. So you would be in a neutral face and then you go, and you'd actually inhale. I look so creepy. You inhale at the same time like that. And what it does is it provides clarity for your voice. So really important there. The other thing that a lot of people teach is power posing. And again, I mentioned that when you change your physical stance, it affects how you think about yourself. So power posing can be something as simple. I've seen at workshops that I've run, people going, yes. Like that's how they feel energized. For me, I always think of Wonder Woman from the 70s. And I always think about this. This is my power pose. So sometimes when I'm standing on the side of the stage after I've had my thumb and my ring finger connected, I will literally stand here like this and I will feel into the presentation and remind myself it's not about me, it's about the people I'm here to serve. So really important, write that down as homework. Actually, do you know what? Let's just do it now. Let's do it now. I'm all about action taking. So I want you to stand up. Even if you've got your camera off, I want you to stand up, do a power pose. I'm going to count to 3. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, and power pose. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, go. Oh, I love it. Beautiful work. Kapai, everybody. Well done. So make sure that you play around with that and find that one which feels like your true North Star. I've tried a bunch of them over the days. But yeah, definitely for me, Wonder Woman is the winner. Now, the final thing that I wanted to share is self-soothing. So I see this a lot in networking groups when I go to visit different BNI chapters. Often a nervous speaker will get up and start doing this. And if you've seen them, the one thing I will say to you is hold space for that person because their brain is going into overload and they're really, really nervous. This is a self-soothing technique in the same way that we use our toes to redirect our energy or to calm our nervous system, that people will sometimes do this. Sometimes I have seen people who will do this. So they'll rub their arms or might do like this, all self-soothing techniques. Some people will do the toe tapping before they have to get up to speak. So, and especially all of our people, well, not all of our people, but some of the people in our fabulous, neuro-fabulous community, they'll do the toe tap. Kia ora to them. Really important to give them the space to do that because that's how they're grounding themselves. But the weirdest one that I've seen, well, it's not weird. It's just natural. We're hardwired to do this. Is when people will, and before they speak, or if they're in a challenging conversation, you might see them and they're actually rubbing their legs, and that also is an anxiety response too. Now, we know that people are doing this as a self-soothing technique. The most important thing is to remember it's okay to do that, but don't do that on stage or in front of people because it can look a bit creepy. And we're not here to be creepy. So those are all great ways that you can physically deal with your nerves. So part one is, of course, the reframing, and part two is really understanding how can I calm my own nervous system, because you're in control. This response will happen. It's part of the autonomic nervous system. We're hardwired to do that, but you can actually control it in the same way that your breathing happens without you thinking about it. You can become conscious and intentional with your breathing as well. Okay, was that helpful, everybody? If so, give me a thumbs up or a heart. Yep, excellent, beautiful. We're going to jump forward. The next thing that people always ask me about is, how do I speak with clarity? Now, I gave you a little bit of insight into that, using that panther face. You might want to adopt that. It's always fun to do at a party and say, look, here's my panther face. Like that, a bit odd, but moving right along. There's two key things that I specialize in and I help people with when it comes to speaking. One is what to say and how to say it. And most often people actually get nervous because they're missing a structure, or they know what types of stories they could share, but which one is going to be relevant. So the key questions I always ask people, and you might want to write this down, when you're getting up to speak or you're creating content, what is the context? Who are you showing up as? Are you an educator? Are you an inspirer? What is the context? And knowing your audience is really important around that question. Number two, when you're speaking or doing content, what do you think is going to be the length of time that you're going to speak for or be on camera for? So knowing that's really important. The next thing is, what is the purpose? What is the intention of this piece of content? And the reason why, when you're a speaker or you're going on camera and creating content, it's what we call attention economics. If somebody has joined your webinar or somebody is watching your content, we are so grateful. They are taking time out of a very busy day or a busy life or a very noisy digital world to share their time and attention with you. How do we make that valuable? So what is the purpose? What is the value that we're going to give people? And then finally, what is the outcome? So what action do you want people to take? How do you want to transform them or inspire them? So knowing those things before you go into content creation or speaking means that you're more intentional. And it means too that you will save time, because you've got to answer those key questions before you even get into creating the content and really mapping it out. I know there's lots of people who are happy winging it. That's great. A lot of people will say to me, oh, Monique, you're so natural, you're so impromptu. No, my friends, I am deeply scripted, and I've been doing this work for such a long time. Everything is created in a particular sequence to ensure that I cover my key points and give value. And I'm going to show you behind the veil of how I do that. So in BNI in particular, we are encouraged to do 10-minute presentations. And the first 10-minute presentation that I did, just jumping back, covered these important things. So when it comes to creating content or creating a presentation, and it's just what we would do as an introduction piece, these were the questions. I went back to the basics. I covered who, what, when, where, why, how, all of those things. The only thing I didn't cover was where, because I work everywhere around the world and online. So the first thing I always share is, who am I? And what gives me the competence or the credibility to be able to get up and speak in front of you? Next, what do I do? And again, I get people asking me this all the time. You're a storyteller? What does that actually mean? I'm a keynote speaker. I'm an MC. I'm a trainer. I'm a coach. That's what I do. And on the side, for fun, because love is love. And I love love. I'm also a celebrant. And again, all of those things, the common thread between all of those things that I do is actually storytelling, which is why I've positioned myself as a storyteller. When did I start on this journey? I started professional training when I was 8 years old. And the reason why I got into speaking was because I had no confidence. And so my beautiful parents who met in theatre, they actually got me into performing arts. And that started this journey to where I've ended up today. Why do I do it? Well, I just mentioned that. Why do I do it? Because I was so badly bullied. I had no confidence. I had a real lack of understanding of who I was and that I had any value at all. I was that kid at school who had in every school report, Monique is a very valuable member of the class and a very vocal one. She would do better if she listened more and applied herself. I'm actually 52 and I still don't understand what applying yourself actually means. Anyway, I get to do a job that I love. And why do I do it? Because I know what it's like to not have a voice and to not have confidence. What do I do now? As I mentioned, I do a lot of coaching and a lot of training when I'm not speaking on global stages. How do I do it? Well, when I was a magician and people asked me, how do I do my magic tricks? The answer was always beautifully. Now I remind people that I have a mixed modality approach. So yes, I teach a traditional public speaking technique, but mixed in with that are things like narrative psychology, in neuro-linguistic programming, narrative encoding, and also methodologies around conscious communication, because I'm really mindful of that. And then, of course, I've come from 11 years as well in a digital agency with my partner Pete. So bringing in the best of marketing, if it's more business focused content, and my kitty of knowledge is quite broad, because I'm a lifelong learner. I'm deeply curious and I love to keep learning. So how do I do it? By approaching it from a mixed modality approach based on who's in front of me. Finally, who do I speak to? I'm very clear, business owners, business leaders, change makers, people wanting to become professional speakers, anybody who is stuck in their story and wants to turn pain into purpose. Those are the people that I work with. And finally, how can people get in touch? Through my website largely, or through emails. I get a lot of personal recommendations from friends as well, because I believe it's so important to look after your network. Your network is actually your net worth. So personal references work extremely well. Now, the other structures that I also teach in the work that I do, and this is deeply important, these are actually what I call significators behind what drives people, what people are looking for in keynote presentations. So I will always, and I've done this today, I'll always open with an icebreaker. Largely it'll be a question or something funny or a funny story. Then we dive into what are the mechanics, what's the information that people are going to come out with today, what are they going to learn? That's me setting tone of the presentation moving forward. And then I want to get people dreaming. I want them to look at their challenges. I want to inspire them to think bigger and think about possibility and potential. Then I come in, and this is largely where we're at in the presentation today. I'm talking about my innovative approach to teaching techniques to help people become better speakers. So I move into the innovation, and I never normally teach more than 3 key areas. So confidence, clarity, and impact is my focus today. Then I move into influence. The reality is, we hop on these webinars to get inspired, but nothing happens unless we activate change. And I, as a change agent myself, I love working with people. I'd love to work with anybody on the call today. If this resonates and you want to take the next step, I'd love to work with you. That's more the influence side. And there are amazing brands out there who do that extremely well. And then finally, impact. That's about setting goals, setting outcomes, and doing something. So every time you attend a webinar or a keynote presentation, if you don't take action within 24 hours, nothing will change. As a speaker, as a leader, as a trainer, it is our role and responsibility to challenge people to think differently or to activate change. So that's the simple structure that I normally follow in every single presentation, and it works for speaking, for podcasting, for training and coaching. In fact, it follows the narrative arc that coaches and therapists even use as well. So it works extremely, extremely well. Now, when it comes to what to say and how to say it, again, this is applied learning. There are 4 things that we need to work on to become more impactful speakers. Pace. When somebody is nervous, it's a dead giveaway, because their speech will speed up. The greatest leaders in the world are very deliberate in how they deliver content. And pace is super important. When we slow down our pace, we give the recipients time to process that information and to start to reflect on the information that we've shared. How does that, as a point, how does that land for you? Good? Thumbs up. Excellent. Excellent. I'm very, very happy. Awesome. So pace is one. That's an absolute game changer. If you know that you speak too fast, slow your pace and be deliberate. And again, it works for podcasting, for coaching, for training, for leading. It works for everything. The second thing is your pitch. Pitch is also a giveaway of nerves or when you're feeling less confident. It's also really hard when you start to upper chest breathe and your voice ends up here, as I've mentioned. long term, it's also not great to speak up at that level because your vocal cords start to rub together. And you may have heard of something called vocal nodes or nodes on your vocal cords. When we have that friction on the vocal cords inside the voice box, it does actually create friction. A little bit like when you get one of those beautiful valuable cardigans from Kmart and you start rubbing your arms together because you're walking everywhere and you're fabulous, and then you notice you get those balls of fur, or the pills I think they're called, under your arms. That's that fabric rubbing together. The same thing happens in our vocal cords. When we create too much tension, they rub together and they create those little bubbles or calluses on the vocal cords, which are called nodes, which is why diaphragmatic breathing is so important, because it reduces that tension, it lowers the breath, and it will lower your voice as well. So make sure you find a really comfortable speaking space as well. We've got options. You can be violin, you could be viola, you could be cello, or you could be bass. So find where your voice naturally sits. I credit to my beautiful friend Monica Moore for that. I love that analogy. Find where yours works for you. And one of the best things that you can do is record yourself. So grab your phone, record yourself presenting to camera, and breathe and tap your toes when you're doing it. And then I want you to listen without watching yourself. And then I want you to watch without listening, so that you're getting an understanding of what is your verbal and non-verbal communication like. Do you sound okay? Do you look okay? And disclaimer, your voice will sound different than you actually hear it inside your head, because it resonates differently inside your head than it does on a recording. It will sound quite odd. Just love yourself, treat yourself like your best friend, hold space and compassion for yourself. So yeah, do that, and then watch them together and think and ask yourself, if I was my friend or if I was my coach, what feedback would I give myself? And that's a really easy way to ensure that your progression happens really quickly as a speaker as well. The next thing that's really important, if you're speaking in a big space and you don't have a microphone, is the art of projection. Because there's nothing worse for an audience or a group of people, especially the ones sitting at the back, when they can't hear you. They glaze over, they're not engaged. And if you are in a leadership space, they're not going to perform because they're missing out on vital information. So a great technique, we don't want to shout from here. We actually, the core of our projection actually happens in the stomach. We've got these amazing abdominal muscles that if you want to project your voice, we actually use those muscles. So I want you to do this with me, even with your camera on or off. I just want you to go, ha, like that, and feel those muscles engaging. Ha! That is your volume control for your voice. When you want to speak louder, engage those muscles and use them to project your voice. In fact, my singing coach, when I started opera training, she said, Monique, this may sound a little odd, but imagine that you need to go to the toilet and you're a bit blocked up. Those muscles, engage those muscles, and that will project your voice. I know, a little bit random, but it actually worked, and it really helped me as a singer to take that tension off my vocal cords. Now, the final thing around being understood and being respected as a speaker is actually pronunciation. And I hear a lot of people who struggle with this. I had to learn linguistics when I was going through my own speaking journey. And I hear things like people who add a K to the word something or nothing. So it comes out something or nothing. It can really devalue your credibility or undermine your credibility as a speaker. So becoming really aware of your isms as a speaker and really listening to yourself and thinking, oh, do I sound knowledgeable? Do I sound credible? Now, a great way to improve your vocal gymnastics and to become clear as a speaker is to do some exercises. And I want you to screenshot this. I want you to take a screenshot of these exercises. And this is your homework as well. Loads of homework for you. And it's so simple, getting clear, being slower, and saying things like the tip of the tongue and the teeth and the lips. The amount of people who said when they tried that one for the first time and they went, oh my goodness, I forgot that there's a D on the end of the word and, the tip of the tongue and the teeth and the lips. A great one I used to teach kids. They loved it because it sounded mad, and they used it as vocal technique. Rubber baby buggy bumper, rubber baby buggy bumper, rubber baby buggy bumper. You do that 50 or 60 times. Get people doing it at a party. You'll have a good laugh. They'll end up saying bugger. So the kids I taught used to love it because they felt like they were saying something naughty. Babbling brooks and busy bees bask in the brisk, bright breeze. Now you'll notice in those two exercises in particular, there's a few B words in there. I do that because it works Next is a launch pad for sound. B is a great way to get your voice projected a little bit more. And then finally, and this is one for those of you who want to take your speaking to the next level and you want to get over any tongue-tiedness, do this before you speak. The leith police dismisseth us. It uses all of the organs of articulation, so your tongue, your teeth, your lips, your hard and soft palate, the uvula, everything in the mouth to create those words. The leith police dismisseth us. That is like F45 for your mouth, basically. So it's the first time I've ever described it as that. So those are the vocal exercises I do all the time to ensure my voice is nice and clear. If we are clear, we are understood. Okay, I'm going to jump into the next section. I need you to know how to speak with impact. This is what we're here for today. We're ready to share stories and share content. We've got some technique under our belt, but how do we actually make that impact? It's through the stories we tell. And science actually shows us that stories increase the retention of your message by 70%. And that came out from a study by Inc.com. So to give you some context, if you think about the last spreadsheet that you looked at, how much of the information on that spreadsheet can you remember? Not a lot. But if I say to you, out of the gate and off for a walk went who? You'll probably answer, Harry McCleary from Donaldson's Dairy. So you'll remember that story. You'll probably have a great memory associated with that story, whether you were told that story, whether you were telling that story to your children or your grandchildren. So stories are this amazing way that connect us to how we feel, to how we experience life as a human. And they are the ultimate tool of connection when it comes to media, marketing and sales, when it comes to leadership and bringing teams together. And of course, it comes back to ourselves as well. And there are 4 types of stories that I wanted to share with you today. And it's called DOSE. So if you've heard of this concept before, it's all based on science. DOSE stands for dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. And there are 4 types of stories that we can tell that will activate the production of these neurotransmitter chemicals. Now, when we activate the production of these chemicals, we activate feelings in our audience. And a great message isn't just seen or heard, it's felt and remembered. And when people feel, that message becomes real. So when we share a story, and there's lots of these, say in the Bible as an example, there's lots of these in films when we hear of the hero character overcoming a challenge, that activates dopamine production, the reward chemical in the brain of the listener. So they will feel better for having listened to your story and how you've overcome a challenge. Maybe they'll even see themselves in that story as well. So I want you to think about, what's a story where you overcame a challenge and overcame a challenge in your business as an example. So think about a story that could serve that, or how you help your customers overcome their challenges. So the listener will get that hit of dopamine and they'll go, wow, and they'll feel more connected to you. The next one there you can see is oxytocin. Oxytocin is the social bonding neurotransmitter chemical that brings people together. And the most important stories that we can share around that are our story of why we do what we do and what is our purpose. So when I've done storytelling keynotes in a live room and I'll have 500, 600, 700 people, I'll get people doing that. I'll get them sharing with the person next to them about what's their purpose, what's their why. And it's amazing to watch the state of the room shift. It is unbelievable. Getting your team to talk about, or if you're in networking, getting your people in your networking group to talk about, why did they join? Why did they come? Why? Why do they do what they do? All of those things matter. Serotonin is amazing. Most people know it as the chemical associated with depression, and absolutely, it is the mood-enhancing chemical. For us, when we pay someone a compliment or we tell a story about somebody and they're in that room and they hear that activates serotonin production in the brain of the recipient or the person who's mentioned. And equally, by paying a compliment to someone else, we activate the production of our own serotonin at the same time. So it enhances them and it enhances us as well. And then finally, endorphins. There is nothing better than a funny story. I see this all the time in lots of different places where I speak. When I get people up, so they've started at a one-to-one level, sharing stories with the person next to them, then they might share. Their next stage is to share to a table, and then that next stage is some of them will even get up in front of the whole audience and share their stories for the first time. And you cannot beat the impact of a funny story that brings people together. So those are the 4 types of stories that I never say should, but you could be sharing. So take some time to isolate what are those stories. They are what create impact because they leave people with how they feel. It's that feeling that creates the impact, because we all know, as Maya Angelou said, people will not remember exactly what you said. They will not remember exactly what you did, but they will remember how you made them feel. Now, on that note, I talked today about the fact that we were going to start with this concept of storytelling and whakapapa and end up at legacy. And this is a story that I stole from Jeff, who's on the call today, who curated, let's get rid of the word stole, who curated this from Dr. Ivan Meisner, who is the head of BNI Global. And I love this story, and I actually use this in my keynotes, and I actually acknowledge Jeff for reminding me of this story during my keynotes when I'm traveling around the world. And it's the story, it's so important, the story of this guy. His name, I found his photo, his name is Dr. Death. It doesn't sound very romantic, doesn't it? Does it? But Dr. Death was actually the creator of dynamite. And Dr. Death woke up one morning and he opened up his local newspaper and he saw an article on there. It was his obituary. And Dr. Death at the time, who was very famous for blowing up things and people, he had no idea that he had actually died. So it was news to him. The reality of the story I've found out in the last few months is that it was actually, very sadly, his brother who had died, and they'd got the two of them confused. So that's an extra added bonus for the players today. So what Dr. Death, he noticed was that as he read that article, did he actually want to be known for blowing up things and people? Or was there a bigger purpose? Was there a bigger why to what he wanted to do? Now, that gentleman's name is actually Dr. Alfred Nobel. So you've probably heard of him, right? The Nobel Peace Prize. What he worked out through this experience is that at any given time, we have a choice. We can choose to leave an accidental legacy, or we can leave an intentional one. And that intentional legacy, and the accidental one, all comes back to the stories that we tell about ourselves and the stories that others share about us. Pretty cool story, right? So my question to you is, as a speaker, as a podcaster, as a content creator, as a leader, how do you want to be remembered? That's your homework. So what is your next step? I'd love to know. I hope that resonated with you. That's one of my most favorite stories to tell. What is your next step? So do you want to grow as a leader? Do you want to do one of those elusive TED Talks? I'm about to launch, we've just launched submissions for TEDx Wynyard Quarter here in Auckland, and I'll be hopefully working with people across the country to run TEDx events throughout 2026 and 27. Do you want to become a keynote speaker like me? I tell you what, it is a fun job and I love it, and it's a real honor to live my purpose and my dream. Or do you want to grow confidence to go on camera? I would love to find out more about you, and to do that, it's so simple. I'd love to chat with you. Here is a QR code right to my calendar. You can book a 30-minute chat, discovery call, whatever you want to call it. I would love to talk to you. By the way, that was one of my favorite, slightly photoshopped photos. That was actually me traveling to a different part of the country to go and speak. So you can see how happy I am. I was so excited that I get to do this job that I love. And I want to help other people do the same. I want to help people tell their stories. That is the QR code. Even email me. I'm happy to chat. Send me an email to Monique@moniquebradley.tv. Let's connect and let's talk about where you want to go as a speaker, as a trainer, as a leader, as a coach, whatever you want to do. I'm here to serve. Now, finally, I just really want to say a very, very big thank you for sharing time and space with me today. As mentioned, I'm critically aware that this is about attention economics, and I hope I've given you as much value as I possibly can. At the end of this, I'm going to stay on this call. If you want to talk to me a little bit further, you've got a challenge or you want to know a little bit more, I'm going to stick around if you have to go. Thank you, kia ora to you. I want to remind you that confidence is built through competence, and competence is simply built through repetition. So get on it, and if I can help, I'm happy to do so. So in closing, a massive thank you to Pete, my producer today. Thank you for joining. Ko Monique Bradley, tōku ingoa, he kai kōrero aho. I'm Monique Bradley. I'm a storyteller, and so are you. So tell your stories with confidence, with clarity, and with impact, and make your message to the world meaningful. Engari, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Ka kite, everybody.